The observation deck of the Celestial Archive hummed with the excited chatter of 37 alien students. Their various appendages pressed against the reinforced glass as they gazed upon the blue marble below. Earth, the death world that had somehow produced a species audacious enough to join the galactic communion. Mira stood at the back of the group, her human frame noticeably smaller than most of her charges. As the cultural liaison assigned to this semester's xenobiology class, she'd grown accustomed to the stares, the whispered questions about her species' impossible resilience. Today's lesson was simple. Observe Earth from orbit. Discuss its hostile conditions. Then return to the station for afternoon studies. Little Threx, a Valkyrian cub barely past his fourth molt, tugged at Mira's sleeve with one of his 6 chitinous hands. His compound eyes reflected the planet's oceans in fractured blues. "Teacher Mira," he chittered, his translator rendering his clicks into standard galactic. "Is it true your people evolved near active volcanoes?" Mira smiled, kneeling to meet his eye level. "Some of us did, Threx. Humans are adaptable. The understatement of the millennium," she thought. But before she could elaborate, the deck shuddered, the lights flickered. An alarm screamed through the corridors, 3 sharp bursts followed by a wailing tone. Mira's heart seized. She knew that sound from the emergency drills. Catastrophic systems failure. "Everyone, away from the glass!" She shouted, her voice cutting through the rising panic. "Formation Delta." Now, the students had practiced this. They clustered together in the center of the deck, away from windows and structural weak points. But this wasn't a drill. Through the viewport, Mira could see debris spinning away from the station's eastern quadrant. A collision. Or worse, sabotage. The deck lurched violently. Several students tumbled to the floor. Threx squeaked in terror as he slid toward the viewport. His young claws unable to find purchase on the smooth metal. Mira didn't think. Her body moved on pure instinct, that same instinct that had kept her ancestors alive in the African savanna, that had driven them to shield their young from predators, that had made humanity the galaxy's most stubborn survivors. She lunged forward, wrapping herself around Threx's small body just as the viewport shattered. The explosive decompression was instant. The roar of escaping atmosphere filled Mira's ears. She felt the terrible pull of vacuum trying to tear her away. But she'd already braced herself against a support beam. One arm locked around it, the other cradling Threx against her chest. Emergency bulkheads began to slam down across the breach, but they were slow, too slow. Students screamed. Some were pulled toward the void before grabbing onto furniture. Onto each other. Mira's lungs burned. She could feel the moisture evaporating from her eyes, the blood vessels near her skin beginning to rupture. But she'd read the survival manuals. Humans could survive vacuum exposure for up to 90 seconds if they didn't panic, if they didn't hold their breath and rupture their lungs. She kept her mouth open, letting the air escape naturally, and tightened her grip on both Threx and the beam. The cub had gone limp in her arms, his species far more fragile than hers. She curved her body around him, creating a pocket of protection with her own flesh. "Hold on," she thought, vision darkening at the edges. "Just hold on." The emergency bulkhead completed its seal with a decisive clang. Atmosphere flooded back into the compartment from the emergency reserves. Mira gasped, her throat raw, her skin mottled with burst capillaries. She couldn't release Threx. Her arm had locked in position, muscles seized in a protective cramp. "Teacher Mira." Voices surrounded her. Medics, station security, other faculty members. They pried her fingers loose, gently, carefully. Someone placed an oxygen mask over her face. Through the haze of pain and exhaustion, she watched as they examined Threx. The little cub stirred, his antennae twitching. Alive. Conscious. Remarkable. One of the medics, a Thorsian with too many eyes, muttered. She used her own body as a pressure vessel. Bought him the seconds he needed. Mira tried to speak, but only managed a wheeze. The medic's third hand rested on her shoulder. "Don't talk, human. You've earned your rest." Mira woke 3 days later in the station's medical bay. Her throat felt like sandpaper, and her skin was still healing from the subcutaneous hemorrhaging. but she was alive. More importantly, according to the nurse, all 37 students had survived. The bulkheads had sealed just in time. A small delegation waited by her bedside. Station Commander Vex, the school's headmaster, and little Threx, who clutched a datapad in his upper hands. "Teacher Mira," Threx chittered, his voice small but clear. "I did something. I hope you are not angry." Confused, Mira watched as he activated the datapad. It displayed an official document from the Valkyrian Naming Authority, one of the oldest and most respected cultural institutions in the galaxy. "Among my people," Threx explained, "when someone saves a life at great cost to themselves, we honor them by adding their name to our planet's registry. It is the highest tribute we can give." "Alvenike," Mira's eyes widened as she read the document. There, in formal Valkyrian script, translated to Standard Galactic, was her name. Mira, of Earth, listed alongside the heroes, scientists, and peacemakers who had earned Valkyria's eternal gratitude. Threx, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Commander Vex interjected, his crystalline features reflecting the medical bay's lights. "What you did shielding your students during a catastrophic breach, most species wouldn't have survived it. Humans." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Humans have a saying, yes? Greater love has no one than this?" Mira nodded, tears forming in her still healing eyes. "Your name won't just be on Valkyria," the headmaster added softly. "The Communion Council has recommended you for the Star of Valor. What you demonstrated wasn't just courage, Mira. It was the essence of what makes humanity so exceptional." Little Threx climbed onto the edge of her medical bed, careful not to disturb the healing equipment. "You held me when the stars tried to take me away. You didn't let go." Mira reached out with her unbandaged hand and gently touched the cub's head. "I never will, Threx." That's what teachers do. But in her heart, she knew it was more than that. It was what humans did. They held on. They protected. They endured. And in the vast, cold expanse of space, that stubborn, relentless love might just be humanity's greatest strength. Outside the medical bay window, Earth turned silently in the void, a blue sanctuary of life that had forged a species too protective, too determined, too impossibly resilient to ever give up. And now, across the galaxy, that resilience had a name: Mira.